Welcome back to the second half of the symposium of the, let me breathe before I say the name, Federation for European Education in Gemology. I always have trouble in saying it correctly. And I'm sorry to interrupt your siesta, but you will not be able to sleep for any minute this afternoon, because the lineup of speakers that we have ahead of us will not allow you to sleep. So I still see Alessio over there struggling with something, but as he's trying to reach out the stage, I will do what we in Portugal we do, stuffed sausages, which is, while nothing is ready, we try to say something that might be interesting. Now, when Damien asked how many students are in the room, I was sleeping, so I couldn't see actually. How many students do we have in the room? Raise your hands. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Loredana Prosperi, she said, me. And I'm a gemologist, you are a gemologist. So many of us have taken the gemology course a long time ago. Damien Cody, you took it like in the 19th century, was it? Yes, but in the late 19th century. So when we finish our education, and I don't know how many of you have re-entered the educational system in gemology during, I don't know, refresher courses, attending conferences like this one, subscribing to magazines like the Journal of Gemology, La Revue de Gemologie, Gems and Gemology, and many other gemological journals like the German one. What is the name, Thomas, of the German gemological journal? Gemologie, right? And there are a lot of resources where we can do continuing education. That's why I've said, although you are getting a diploma, a qualification diploma today, this is the beginning. You will be, hopefully, as Loredana said, you will still be, after decades of being professional gemologists or professional jewelers, designers, valuers in the gemological world, you will be a student still, because this is a never-ending world of learning. So without any further ado, I don't need to stuff sausages anymore. It is my honor, absolute pleasure, to call to the stage one of the most creative jewelry artists that we have in the world today. I was about to say one of the most exquisite jewelers that we have in the first row of the room today, but now I'm just to tease you, but honestly, you are one of the best. Because not only Alessio Boschi does jewelry with a refined craftsmanship detail, the piece of jewelry that he builds is much more than just an object. The gems, the gemstones, the gem materials, the metals that are chosen, they are there for a purpose, not only because they are beautiful, not only because they might be possibly valuable, they are there to serve a message. And he will tell the story today of an award-winning ring called the Jubilee Ring that got an award yesterday of a one-of-a-kind category of the VO Awards. It's a great... I was jury on that competition. You still owe me 10,000 euro because I voted for you. So without any further ado, a big welcome and applause to Alessio Boschi. No, prego. Figurati.
Okay. So today I will explain you this journey of 5 months of hard work with 30 people from all over the world. It was a journey starting from the idea of the Jubilee last year, and is really a journey through the beauty of my city, the beauty of Rome, through different centuries. The beauty also and the history of Christianity in the eternal city. is a journey also the making of this piece, because I got the help of an incredible studio of 3D designers in St. Petersburg. And these helped me a lot, because Russians, they have this refinement in their culture, in their ideas of architecture, which is very similar to ours. The piece was also partially assembled in Thailand, in Bangkok, where I live, where I decided to live mostly because of the stones, the gems, the cutting of new material, and as often for very important pieces I try to merge it with artistry. Lost technique that they are not, that they are disappearing, and that they represent for me the really heart of the piece. I had an incredible collaboration with people from all over the world, included the Museum of the Earth and the Sky near Bologna, who provided me what is the real heart of the message, which is an impactite, Libyan glass. But let's go. We have like about 40 minutes, I hope, to match the time. So we started by the idea of St. Peter. This is one of my ancestors, so sketches, is 17th century, and pictures one little Cupid. You will see in the ring that they are also these three-dimensional architectonical figures, that they are part of my heritage, but also they are disseminated and created in the Eternal City in various churches of the Baroque. But this ring is not just about the Baroque. We have to start from the idea of the shofar, which is the ram horn, which in Hebrew means the revelation, the rest, is the sound of the Yobel. And from this instrument of sound, it was partially inspired by Bernini for the baldachin that he created in 1633. You can see my sketch, my very, very first sketch, when I went to the house of my mentor, Giovanni Curatola, in Florence, to try to get some symbolism from him. I often do this with Giovanni, because Giovanni is a professor at the University of Arts in Florence, and is considered probably the most important Orientalist in the city. 2 years ago, it was about the Marco Polo, and last year I stayed with him, and he explained to me few interesting things that we can see in the process of this making of these pieces. So you can see the idea of the horn that was taken also from Bernini, but also from the Temple of Jerusalem. And you can see the sketch, the 3D designer there in the right side. Actually, the difference with the Bernini baldachin in my ring is that I created columns that they are not with the same diameter. I try to make the column to be really like a horn. So they are a little bit larger at the bottom, and then they becoming with a smaller diameter on the top. This is imperceptible, but is still something that creates a story. And for me, the story behind each piece is very important, because it's the soul of each creation. And today, without the storytelling, I think we cannot go very far as a designer. So it's something that I try always to teach to my student in China, or even at the IED, in the European Institute of Design of Italy. In February, 22 February of 1300, the Pope Bonifacio VIII realized that all these pilgrims that were coming to see the Basilica would be something very profitable. And with the indulgent selling, he decided to create a jubilee. Initially, the jubilee was every 100 years, then it became 50 years. Today, we have a jubilee every 25 years. The idea it was to visit the Basilica of St. Peter and St. Paul 30 times in 1 year for the Romans, and 15 times for all pilgrims of the world, all Christians of the world. This creates, of course, an incredible economy in the city. And I just want to show you what happened in 1553. 1553, San Philip Neri, who is he was a priest, extended this visit of St. Peter and St. Paul Basilica to the visit of 7 churches. After that, the mother of Constantine, Helena, brought from Constantinople some of the instrument of the Passion of Christ. So some relic, very, very important. Included also a bunch of the ground of Jerusalem, which allowed to create one of the 7 churches. So here you have a kind of pilgrimage road that all the pilgrims had to travel. And the idea was that they have to pass through the door of each one of these basilica to become, to clean their soul from their sins, you know. Of course, there were already a lot of marketing and business for the church at the time already, because they were the selling of the relic that they could be touched, for example, by fabrics. So they would sell this fabric that touched the relic to pilgrims all over the world. It was an incredible business for the church, and he created what is the richness of this of the Vatican as well. And we are starting from the architecture of the building. It was the dome of the building was designed by Michelangelo in 1546 and then completed between 1588 and 1590 by Giacomo della Porta and Domenico Fontana. Please observe the color in lead of the Vatican. It's not white metal, but he had this teal color. That is what gave me the idea of using a particular stone, which is for me one of the most beautiful and today even one of the most expensive stones in the world of gemology, because here we are talking about Paraiba tourmaline that started from 0.9 millimeter diamond cut and finished to 1.6 millimeter. We are talking about 5 times the price of the same size, 5 times the price of diamond. So it's something extremely rare, but I wanted really to give the effect of that color, really to see the Dome of Vatican, and when you see the Dome of our ring, you can see that there is a comparison. The dome is, of course, the external dome, and then there is an internal dome. That's why you have that image below. And these 4 carats of tourmaline, they just make the outside dome very, very rich. Then another idea that came to my mind, it was I wanted to create those doors of the basilica, like you are discovering something, because my journey is always, I am a Roman, so I am a son of the Baroque period. In my journey, I want to tell the story that will touch your heart. I want you to be surprised as the surprises of Fabergé eggs. And this is the very meaning of my Baroque interpretation as a son of the Eternal City. So when you see the facade of St. Peter, you can see that there was a study between the Corinthian and composite order reproduced in 1614 by Carlo Maderno, architect, in the facade. I use for all the hinges of the 7 doors of the 7 churches, I needed to have a cylinder which allowed me to have a mechanism inside, a kind of charnier, a kind of hinge. This hinge was a pretext to taking the column from Maderno and reproduce it with the 2 capital, of course stylized, of course like simplified, and you have the design, the 3D design there. I didn't want it to use the simple, the plain column, because it looks too much with the hinges like a mechanism. So I decided to taking in consideration the ancient Corinthian and composite style instead. And we can start from this moment to talk about the 7 doors, which they are actually more than that. They are actually 10 doors, but we will discover it together. So the 7 are the basilica, and then there are additional doors. We started from St. Mary the Major, was consecrated in 432 after Christ, and is one of the main 4 basilicas, because before Filippo Neri, they were first the 2, then the 4, and then just in the 16th century, Filippo Neri decided to extend it to the 7. The 4 basilicas are very important. The facade that you see in my ring, it was created in the middle of the 18th century. You have, I try to show to my designers also all the process. So this is the inspiration, what you have there, which leads you to have an historical background. Then you have the sketch, which view could be the best view to immediately be recognized. Then I send my sketches to the studio in St. Petersburg, and I follow them, I correct them in the 3D design. And what you have there is the result. This is done with the usage of the incredible technique of CAD, and it could be these goldsmiths, they can cast up to a thickness of 0.35 millimeter. Actually, even 0.25, but it's too delicate. So let's keep it at 0.35, which allowed me to have bas relief without having an excessive weight. When you have my ring in your hand, at the end is still 93 grams. So it's not really a very light piece. It's something that is a little bit heavy. And also, we were very lucky to have this number, because I believe a lot in the symbolism. So 9 and 3 is 12, 2 and 1 is 3. So the facade, it was reproduced as you see there, and what I wanted to show you is the inside. What is the surprise? Because for me, the surprise element, the Baroque element, the surprise. Imagine you are in Rome and you're walking in a little street and you start hearing the sounds of the water, and then finally you arrive to Fontana di Trevi. This is the Baroque for me. This is the element that will shock you, will surprise you. And when you come to my booth, or when you talk with me about one of the pieces, what I want to do is I leave a souvenir on you. I always want to touch your heart with something. And this touching of the heart could be a smile. So sometime you have, for organic shapes, you can have little ladybugs on the back, or little insect, or something that makes you smile. In architecture, in this case, they are the relic, the holy relic that make this Jubilee ring, really an homage to the pilgrimage of the 7 basilica. Inside this St. Mary the Major, there is the relic created by our maybe most famous silversmith in 1802, who is Giuseppe Valadier. Giuseppe Valadier created a case for the wood that was in the cradle of Jesus. And inside the ring, I try to reproduce in CAD exactly the little cradle there. So when you go to see with the loop, you will see all the detail that they were created by Giuseppe Valadier. But there is another detail. You know, you imagine the ring and you have the door. You have the facade of the church. The first things when you open is to look inside, but nothing is left casually in my piece. What happened to the door? The back of the door should not be just simple. And it was, there is a design also on the back of the door that connects you with the story of that particular church. In this case, we have the St. Mary, the major icon, which is an icona, the most venerated icona in Rome. This icona was helping against, in the Turkish battle, the Christians, for example, by praying the icona, they believed that we won the battle, and also to hand the plague in 1593, or for the cholera plague in 1837. So it's very, very venerated icona. This icona is engraved in the back of the door, so you have to turn the ring and look the back of the door with the loop, and you will find on the shining surface a design which is been simplified, first from my hand, then simplified in vector, then it was engraved, and then covered by enamel. Usually is a black enamel, but there is also a chromatism in some of the pieces. This black enamel shows you the detail, simplified detail of the icona. We will see here in the next slides. So the icona, this is where it's taken from. That is the center design. That in the center below is the vector. The detail again of the icona and what is done on the back of the door. This is just the first of the door, because then we are moving to another church which is very important, considered the mother of all the churches in the world, is St. John in Lateran. It was consecrated in 324, so it's considered the oldest church in the world. The facade that you see today, of course, is not of that period, but is a facade of late Baroque. 1732, Galilei created this beautiful facade according to the style of the period. And this is my sketch, which also has already what will be the surprise inside. And nearby, you have the three-dimensional, and then you have the picture of how it looks. But let's look the back of the door of this icona, of this door. The back of the door is the Constantinian cross, which is a fantastic masterpiece of medieval art. What I want to show you today is how this ring is really a pretext to talk about Christianity from the very beginning, from the persecution of the Roman Empire until until today, basically until our days, until the last pope that we have now. And is through history. You have the Byzantine, you have the medieval art, you have the Renaissance, we already saw with Michelangelo, but we will see again with Raphael, and we will see the Baroque, of course. So it's a journey. The back of this door is omnium urbis et orbis ecclesiarium mater et capit, which means mother and head of all the cities and churches in the world. It's been simplified. You can see down the vector, and then is translated to laser engraving and cover in enamel. And let's see what is inside this basilica. Inside this basilica, you can see up there is what you see today if you go to see the treasures of the basilica. They are the bust of St. Peter and Paul, which hold the head of the two saints. But those busts are a masterpiece of 19th century. So it's not something really, really old for us. Why? Because there was a Treaty of Tolentino in 1797. The Papal State was obliged to give basically all his treasure to the French troops and Napoleon. And many of these treasures, they were melted down. This is something very sad for us. So I go back to see a manuscript, and I found this beautiful print and sketch of the two saints, how they were before the Tolentino Treaty. And I reproduced them with my Russian 3D studio in St. Petersburg, as they should be. In order for you to see clearly all those details, we work with texture of gold. So the ring is in a yellow gold. Also is the color of the Baroque. Imagine all this gilded statue. The doors, in contrast, are white, also because once the 7 doors they are open, you will see a white cross. And then inside, of course, because the structure of the ring is in yellow gold, inside the cavities, which accommodates each one of the relic, they will be in yellow gold. Therefore, if I use a shining yellow or rose gold, it will be very difficult for you to see. We decided to sandblast in rose gold all the relics, so that it will be more easy for you, for your eyes, even naked eyes, you don't necessarily always need the loupe, to see what is inside. And this is a part of the discovery. But then let's go to the next church. The next church is San Sebastian outside the wall. And San Sebastian outside the wall is one of the 7 basilica, of course, and it holds something very special. It's called the Church of the Quo Vadis. So if you see the next slides, you can see that there are the footprint of Jesus. Actually, when Peter was in Rome, is narrated that he met Jesus, that he was on a way to Jerusalem, and his footprint are preserved in this church. And when he asked in Latin, Domine, quo vadis? Sir, where are you going? He decided that he should go back to accept his martyrs from the Romans. So those one are the footprints that they are engraved in rose gold inside the door of San Sebastian. And what is the back? The back is something exceptional for me. I even didn't know that exists until I start studying and until I go into the research. The back is the last masterpiece of our greatest, most important artist of the Baroque, Gian Lorenzo Bernini. He is the Christ, is the Salvator Mundi, already depicted by Leonardo da Vinci, is in the Louvre of Abu Dhabi now. But this piece, it was discovered only in 2001 in the convent of nearby church. It was discovered the last masterpiece, the Jesus Christ, sculpted by Gian Lorenzo Bernini. And here you have the reality, the vector, and again, engraved in laser and covered by enamel on the back of the door of St. Lawrence, San Sebastian. And then we can go to the next church, St. Lawrence out of the wall. This church, unfortunately, by mistake, was bombed by our allies, Americans, in 1950. Paleo-Christian Romanic church, destroying all the church except the floor. And this floor that you see here is what is being engraved on the back of the door. So when I told you before polychromous enamel, those ones are a very beautiful representation of the cosmatesque floor. So pieces of different marble, geometrically usually, that would create a beautiful floor for some of our most ancient churches of Rome. This is a technique that comes for sure from Constantinople. So you see, it's something connected mostly, almost like a mosaic floor, you know? And then that's why I ask the enamelist to apply different color and not just black color. And you see there the result. Interesting, very interesting, and there is where I had really fun. It was the inside of the relics. So what happened to St. Lawrence? St. Lawrence, he was persecuted by Valerian, Emperor Valerian, in 258. What happened? Valerian said, if you want me to spare your life as a Christian, because Christian was not a religion of state, was not allowed for the Romans, they were polytheistic, they have many gods. Certainly they didn't want Christianity at the beginning. So he persecuted Lawrence, and he said, if you don't want to die, I will spare your life, but you have to bring me the treasure of the church. And the holy writings, they tell us that Lawrence went to the street of Rome and tried to find all the poor people, all the people that they have some handicap, some problem, all the very also lost souls, you know, and tell them to go in one square. And then he called the emperor, and he tell the emperor, Emperor, come to see the treasure of the church. Of course, Valerian become crazy, you know, and he say, well, I will not decapitate you as usually I will do with other Christians. I will make you suffering you like a hell. So I will grill you alive, slowly, slowly, not with the fire, but with the carbons, with the brace, you know, with the embers of wood. So very slow. And this in St. Lawrence is there is the grill frescoes of how St. Lawrence was grilled, and nearby in Amaseno, which is in province of Frosinone, another city out of Rome, there is a little bottle which contain the blood of the saint. Then we can go to the next, and so I try to engrave in quartz this bottle, and I put a drop of enamel inside so that it will look like the blood of this saint. And in every 9 of August, there is a procession, and apparently it happens, the same things it happened in Naples. 9 of August, in the night between 9 and 10 of August, there is a religious procession, and this blood, which is not liquefied, but is in powder, it becomes liquefied. And this is my representation in the ring. Then St. Paul out of the wall. St. Paul out of the wall also, it was destroyed by a fire in 1823, and the only things that remain, and you can see from the first stamp of the printing, you can see that it was the apsid, the medieval apsid, with inside another masterpiece, Arnolfo di Cambio. This is the facade of St. Paul out of the wall. And you can see here what is engraved in the back of the door. You see the apsid, you see the center part, which was created by Arnolfo di Cambio. And then we can go to what is inside the relic. And inside the relic, you have the chains that they were chained the apostle in Rome before he was killed. And I needed the smallest chain in the world. I couldn't find it in Italy. I found it in Japan. So I asked this Japanese supplier to send us a little part of this chain, and it was created exactly like the slug of marble, which was discovered quite recently, actually, of the tomb of the apostle. And you see there you have 3 holes. The 3 holes are exactly reproduced also in my ring. On the top, you can see now up there. These 3 holes, they were for, there was this idea of the first Christian Romans, that they, and also of the pagan Roman, that you should wash with water the bones of your ancestors. So for centuries, they were pouring perfumes and pouring water in that round hole. The 2 square hole, they were for what is called the relic of contact. The relic of contact means that they, for many centuries, they were putting a cotton thread or a piece of fabric to touch the bones, and then they were extracted it and sell it this to some aristocratic as the relic of touch of the bones of the apostles. Imagine the marketing. We are thinking that the Americans are the best marketing in the world, but no, they were the Romans, I think, at the time. So let's go on with the other basilica. The other churches is Holy Cross in Jerusalem, which is a beautiful church created in the 18th century, and this church is called like that because initially there was a ground floor. It was full of the ground taken from Helena, the mother of Costantino, and brought in Rome. It was like having Jerusalem in Rome. And in this church, the relics are my favorite, actually. So the relics of Holy Cross in Jerusalem are 3 in this case, and they are the holy thorns, so the 2 of the thorns of the Jesus crown. In the center, you have 1 of the nails of the crucifixion of Jesus, so the instrument of the passion, we call it, and also the finger of St. Thomas. We have still today in Italy this way of saying that I am like St. Thomas. If I don't touch, I don't believe. So St. Thomas is the one that touches with his finger, the wound of Jesus. And this finger is a little bit macabre, guys, sorry, but this is a little bit our Christianity on one side. And we have the finger of St. Thomas there. This is incredible because for me, I was really congratulating with the goldsmith. It's not easy to cast these things. Okay, I almost finished. And then here we have the back of the door, which are the title that was on the cross, and the fragment of the cross of Christ. There you can see the back of the door. And then this is what I was saying to you. You open the door and you have like a cross. And another of the door are the two popes. So it's an homage of the two popes. There is a basculating, a rotating door that you touch with your fingernail and it clicks. On one side, Francesco, one of our most beloved Pope, with his humanity, is the last salute to the people of Rome in his wheelchair from the balcony. And on the other side, the election, the salute of the new Pope. These one are the coat of arms of the Pope, and in illo uno unum is the motto of the new Pope, which is engraved on the bottom side of the lid of the dome of the Vatican, and is mirror-like with, inside the gallery, the coat of arms of the first Pope, Bonifacio the 8th. So we have these two, the past and the present always. And here you have the base of the ring. The base of the ring is the St. Peter's Square, which was designed by Bernini in 1660. It was designed as an embrace, to embrace not only the Christian of the world, but all the people of the world. And this is the very message of my ring. Here, the base, the part of the base which allowed you to create this cathedral, this ring, which is the reproduction of St. Peter, is another church. This other church is Sant'Eligio. Sant'Eligio is a protector of the goldsmith. For me, this is the 8th basilica. Sant'Eligio it was designed by Raphael in the 16th century. So, for me, is the homage to our jewelry world. And I went there and I went to talk with the Chamberlain, Aldo Vitali, because this church is today the University of Goldsmith and Silversmith since 1508. And I asked him, give me something from this church as a relic to put inside the ring. And this stamp, a piece of lead with the face of Sant'Eligio. This stamp is the last stamp, 1750, which was the lacquer stamp for the document of all the goldsmiths that wanted to work for the Vatican or for the aristocratic family. And this is the blue Egyptian. Blue Egyptian is the first color in the history of work never created synthetically. And you can see the Egyptian they were using in the faience, but we also have in Pompeii, in Ercolano, and also in some Etruscan things. This blue Egyptian recipe, which is a tetraoxide of copper mixed with calcite, it was such an exquisite and expensive piece that was largely used in the antiquity. But the recipe got lost in the Middle Age, and by chance, Raphael rediscovered the recipe in 1518 in the frescoes of the Farnesina. This blue. And this discovery of Raphael is also connected with my ring because the architect of Sant'Eligio Church in Rome is Raphael. So here you have the enamel, and this is another material which is the employment of Arash Gruyan, a Persian miniaturist who used the ink from walnut in miniature, and I use the same ink for our ring, and the virtues that they are hand-painted by him from Raphael around my ring. And the most important, here you can see all the Baroque part. These Baroque angels, they are all created on the side of the ring. And you can see all the symbolism of the keys, of every... They are full of details. We can stay even much more, but we don't have much time. So here is the wall of the Vatican, has the tree. When you open the gallery with your finger, in your hand, you have the wall of the Vatican that fall into your hand as it used to be, but then when you turn, you have 3 lambs that they are slaughtered. Those are the sins of humanity for me. And on the other side, you have symbol, and finally, my message. My message is in the baldachin, and this incredible ball, sphere, can be opened into, represented below the stars of Mary, and can be opened by using impactite with the 8 religions that they are engraved all around the cross, and in the middle, around the impactite, the Libyan glass, so the impact of meteorite on the desert of Libya, which holds particles from extraterrestrial elements, which means we do not fight for any of the religion, but we should operate with love. And all this below a fantastic dome in micromosaic, 600 hours of work created by Luigina Rec, who is one of the alive legend of the Roman micromosaic, reproducing exactly all the saints of the ring. Thank you very much.
Bravissimo, bravissimo Alessio. Let me tell you that we went over time, but this is your fault not because you took too long, it's your fault because you were so engaging that instead of me doing my job, I was just enjoying what you were saying. Could I say we don't have time for questions, but your piece of jewelry is like a book. If you know the code, you can actually spend a whole day looking at it. I had the privilege, I'm a gemologist, so we all have loops here, and I had the privilege to inspect this piece of jewelry in detail, and I couldn't believe what was in there. So amazing work. Thank you very much for your contribution today. Thank you. Thank you, Alessio. Although we didn't speak much about gemology on this presentation, there is much about what we do on this presentation, because when we look into a gemstone, when we look into the inclusions, the growth features, the indications of however the crystal was growth, we also see a story. We also look into the geology, what's behind it, not from a philosophical perspective, but from a scientific perspective. So there is a lot to do. When we look into gemstones, we also read them. So it's something to think about when we are gemologists. The next presentation has a lot to do with the previous one. Our next speaker, Çiğdem Lüle, she has a PhD on antique gemstones. She's passionate about archaeogemology, meaning the use of gems in antiquity and history. And she will share with us today a bit of her passion that I hope after the presentation will be everyone's passions. Give a big welcome, warm applause to Çiğdem Lüle. Go ahead, Çiğdem.
Hello, can everybody hear me okay? Great. I'd like to start with a big thank you to FEEG, because when I was contacted by Guy Lalou and got invited here, I was really excited, and I'm still very excited about it, because this is a very prestigious conference, in my opinion, and I'm honored to be here. I would like to thank Ilaria as well for this wonderful organization. We were all greeted very nicely, and I feel home. So thank you so much for everything. Now, when Guy contacted me, he asked me to talk about gemology, archaeogemology, and I'm thinking, well, it's almost 30 years that I started this. What part of it I need to talk? Then I realized that there are so many students here, and I know in the audience there are some people that have seen my talks before, but I decided to put it all together, so you have to bear with me. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about and see how we can do with that. Is there any archaeologist in the audience? No? Anybody had any but it's audience, I said. So, well, I'm not an archaeologist, although I call myself an archaeogemologist, but my background is in geoengineering. Then I didn't like the engineering part, and then I moved on to mineralogy. Then I discovered gemology, and I started the whole journey. And I always say this, being a student in one of those conferences like this might change your life, and that's exactly what happened to me when I was a student at GEMA conference, my very first one in 1997. And I listened to a talk, and there was this researcher, Lisbeth Thorson, who became a good friend later, from Getty Museum at the time, and she showed some examples, and she clearly was asking for a gemological help, and yet with my very little English and shy being a student, I was like, oh, I think I've seen this material in Turkey. So then it all started, basically. So I want to talk about archaeogemology. Obviously, I'm going to give you the description and everything, but I want to tell you what archaeogemology isn't first. Archaeogemology has got nothing to do with jewelry history, for example. We're not jewelry historians. Archaeogemology also is not about identifying gem from any archaeological context, because any gemologist can identify any gemstone. So just because somebody goes into a museum, or it's part of their study, that they can identify a piece of quartz or amethyst or anything as a gemstone, just because they've done it on an archaeological object, they didn't do archaeogemology, they did gemology. What archaeogemology emphasizes is that putting it in context, so that we will know the origin of it. So in a way, I can talk about archaeogemology in the ancient country of origin study. So it involves a lot of mineralogy in it, and it's a combination. So let's see what we have. Whatever happened to me because I'm a little too curious about things, and I get passionate. If I'm curious about something, I have to get the answer. If there are no answers, there has to be one, so it needs to be found. They say curiosity killed a cat, but I'm still alive, so there's something good about it. And these are the first things that I was looking at it when, obviously I saw Lisbeth's talk about gemology in archaeological context, and she was only talking about ancient Roman pieces, yet I'm going to the museums after becoming a gemologist, and it doesn't matter what part of the world that you go to a museum. In archaeological context, the pieces, especially jewelry related, or the archaeologists call it personal ornaments, not just jewelry, because they might not be jewelry. They might have an entirely different symbolism to them. So personal ornaments would be identified on their label as with detail of metal, detail of all the organic materials, but whatever is left over is a stone. Not a gemstone, not a garnet, not a quartz, stone. And I'm like, why? Then it becomes very obvious because there are no gemologists working in museums, especially for the archaeology side. You know, we have gemologists working at the natural history museums. They have a mineralogy background and they can go into that. But most archaeological museums do not employ gemologists, and that's where the separation starts. So this is one of my, this is the 6th millennium, meaning before Christ, meaning it's about 8,000-year-old cultural piece. And there are bones, and the white pieces other than bones are actually faience, and the blue pieces are volcanic rock. So basically colored by sodalite in matrix, and nobody identifies it that way. So I like to go back. You know, I want to go back how far we can take this whole personal ornament and jewelry idea. Because we always talk about, oh, what would be the first trade? What would be the first time that people use jewelry? Well, it goes as far as the beginning. And when you look at certain archaeological findings, it is not only for Homo sapien, but also our cousins, now they are extinct, like the Neanderthals and Denisovans, they had jewelry. So when we look at our past, we're looking at the Paleolithic and Mesolithic times. I'm going to give you a timeline. One of the reasons I asked if you were an archaeologist in any way. So the time is going to make more sense when I give it to you. We have objects that are used, and this particular group goes as far as 300,000 years. So we're still what we, you know, in general public speaking, cavemans and using these pieces, all deliberately drilled, shells and other soft materials. But I believe if we're going to define any of these as jewelry, the very first gemstone was a shell. Then this part, which is very interesting to me, it's a carved bracelet. And the identification is chlorite. It's probably a chlorite-rich something, but because there was no gemologist on site, and it was never published that way. And this goes back 40,000 years. And this is not Homo sapien. We have one of our cousins that extinct, and it belonged to them. They lived, that group of people lived as far as 125,000 years ago. And this is the technology they had, and they could create this piece. And I find it amazing. Later, especially in Anatolia, there are lots of similar pieces produced in obsidian. So they're using local material for sure. Just to give you a timeline, just wanted to make you something fun. Human evolution, going back 2.5 million. And then by the time we come to Neolithic, meaning the new Stone Age, we have about 2.5 million years of evolution there. And Neolithic times ends around 3,000 to 4,000 before Christ. So we're looking at maybe 6,000, 7,000 from today years that we started going into later times that metal started getting involved. So when you go back, and if you remember the previous slide, Middle Paleolithic goes as far as 300,000 years, and that's where we found all those drilled material that definitely used as personal ornaments. And keep that date in mind, because there will be a slide that coming back again. After that, we're looking at, after Neolithic Age, basically this is all Stone Age as we understand, and the new Stone Age is Neolithic Age, and then Chalcolithic Age and Bronze Age. Chalcolithic Age is copper, then bronze, then iron, and then we come into Classical Age and then Medieval Age. And this scala, this particular timeline is for the Mesopotamian area. So there are actually different timelines to different parts of the world. So the whole world didn't go into Bronze Age together. It was different in Americas and different in Australia, for example, so that there were differences. But because it was the most populated area in the world and there were lots of trade going on, lots of exchanges going on, they were in a much more communication with each, even with European times, European archaeological times, when you look at it, were different than what was going on in Mesopotamia and the East. But we tend to concentrate on the Western world, and there are things that we need to learn about it, and we need to learn not to concentrate on that, especially for gemology. So I'm thinking, okay, trade is there. You know, because there was one article, the first time I read it, I couldn't believe it. The very first gem trade was actually documented because there were some shell beads deliberately drilled, and also they've been dyed with ochre, which I will come to, and used as jewelry. They were definitely hung, and they were found in a cave in northern Africa. And the species that used as those beads was actually 3,000 kilometers away. It did not belong, it was an indigenous shell species. It was from the coast of Mediterranean in North Africa. So imagine 82,000 years ago, it was not only jewelry or personal ornaments, but it was definitely trade for that. And when you look at it and when you think about it a little further, because gems or anything that is related to personal ornaments are not perishable. So if you look at all the spice trade, it makes a lot of sense. You know, you look at spice trades, and then you look at gem trade, especially in later times that we have more evidence and more even recording about that, they seem to be quite parallel to each other. And that's a good point to think about, because that's how gemology should be working with other subjects as well. So this is a very good example. I'm sure you all know it, but I don't know if anybody thinks about it in very detailed situation. This is 4th to 2nd millennia, meaning almost 5,000 to 6,000 years before our time. And there is lapis lazuli. We all know that it was used in ancient Egypt, but nobody sits down and think about how far they went and got those pieces and spread the whole material in whole Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. And it was all known. This concept has been published over and over again. But until, I just read an article, hopefully it will be published. I just read an article, first time ever, somebody decided to do some mineralogical analysis on that. So now we will actually be able to prove if that lapis was from Afghanistan, today's Afghanistan, or maybe there are other sources. And that is important to understand. That's where the country of origin comes into the picture. Number one lesson I learned in working with archaeologists was all doesn't mean primitive. We take it for granted, and I don't want to offend anybody, but that's my calling. I say, well, I call it the modern human arrogance. We're so modern, we're so knowledgeable, we are so high with technology, and any ancients didn't know anything what they were doing. The technology that they used, the way that they understood nature and the material, how they could use it, was amazing. And I don't think any modern person, even with this knowledge, could get out today, go to nature and collect the material and create the same thing. So where's our intelligence? It's all about practice. They had that tradition. Remember, we're going back as far as 3,000 years. That's the evidence we have. Maybe there is more. Maybe there will be other findings earlier than that. We don't know that. One of the other things, first, when I settled within that idea, as a mineralogist, I had to understand, you know, we always are taught the geological ages, and we talk in millions and millions, but now you're working with archaeologists and everything is in thousands of years, so you really need to kind of switch your idea of timing, and that helps quite a bit, and then you need to look at the history, but what we're looking at is prehistory. There is no recording of it. Then what I realized, especially with the archaeologists, that they're looking at the past from today's perspective, and it doesn't work that way. I heard at least 2 or 3 very distinguished archaeologists standing up, giving a talk on some identified, let's say, seal stones or something, Hellenistic or ancient Roman, and they described amethyst as semi-precious. Thinking, well, first of all, I really have a problem with that definition. Precious versus semi-precious should be completely canceled. Since we're in cancel culture, it needs to happen with that. But when you think about those dates and thousands of years ago, where could anybody get amethyst? Where do we get the amethyst today? When did the idea of amethyst being shift from precious to semi-precious? With the Brazilian mines. It happened in the 18th century. Anything prior to the 18th century, any amethyst prior to that was precious. So think about it. Your bishop's ring, it's called bishop's stone. If it wasn't that valuable, would it be used for such an elevated religious level? I don't think so. And every stone has a different value for different cultures. For example, you wouldn't see any rubies, almost none, in Roman context, in ancient Roman context, or even Hellenistic context. Reason being is ruby was so valuable to Easterns. Trade was already going on. But they would only sell the sapphire for them. All the beautiful red stones remained in Eastern world, not come to the Western world. So we as gemologists and any form of scientists, we really need to look back and understand the setting before we make our judgments or identification calls. So that's one of those things. And the other one, it says plasma, the green material, we're going to talk about it. Anything is green, fine. You know the problem, and we talked about it, you know, Wuyi asked this morning, Thomas, how are we going to get through the museum people? Well, I can tell you that I had to go through many, many museum people, and I could not get through as many museum people. And it's all down to education. It's all down to education because I don't think we communicate enough. We always communicate between us. And it's today's problem too. I also write and publish on nomenclature, modern nomenclature, quite a bit, and give talks. And then everybody argues within the business or within the gemological world, but I don't see this is translated to the public, who is actually going to be the consumer of that product. And then we talk about, well, they don't know. Well, they don't know because we're not teaching. We can't just take it for granted. And it's the exact same thing. So museum people or anybody who's working within that context need to be educated by whom? By gemologists. I don't know if any of you are working with anybody as a non-gemologist. You're a gemologist, but you're working with a non-gemologist outside the jewelry business. And have you ever had any nomenclature issues, terminology issues? I bet you did. Because even with the mineralogists, there are lots of terminology issues. And then you start looking at these items and identify it that way. This is lucky because it didn't say two different stones. It didn't say purple stone and green stone. But it says amethyst and plasma. Plasma is a green chalcedony. There are many types of it. And the importance of it is a different story. So this is what we are in terms of communicating with the others, and we have to look at it, and it starts with the archaeogemological studies too. Now, this is the important communication part. Any red garnet is a garnet. Nobody identifies those garnets. I did a garnet study with British Museum. It is published. I will show the book. And one of those museum people again. It took me and the British Museum curator to get a permit to get into that collection, 1 year and 6 months. After that, we got into the collection. We were given a collection of 112 garnets, all documented in the past 100 years within the museum. Only 82 of them turned out to be garnets, because it was all face value. Whomever collected it decided that that dark reddish brown stone was a garnet. It wasn't. It was lots of carnelians and glass. Again, we don't work with these people. Therefore, we actually get, oh, how does that happen? It happened, because people don't pay attention to that. I don't think we're loud enough to make it happen. Then the chromium chalcedony comes to the picture. I mentioned my very first conference and Elizabeth Thorson talking about a particular material. She mentioned that this particular material was separated from all the other green plasma in ancient world. And this was first documented by a German archaeologist, Furtwängler. I'm sorry that I don't speak German, so if I'm pronouncing it badly. But in 1910, he realized that there was a particular group of green gemstones that are used, that they were definitely chalcedony, that were used within a context. And they were so precious because they were only being found in royal context, not in any ordinary places. So this material, because of Furtwängler's work, then Dr. Gertrude Platz, she passed away a few years ago, and I respected her very much. She got into this even more, and we had the opportunity to come together and work in, and there were already a few museum people identifying this as chromium chalcedony because it had chromium in it. The coloration was created by chromium in it. Is it good enough to say that? Well, and where is it coming from? So that's where the archaeogemology started. So far, it was just an entrance, the whole thing. This is how I started getting into it, asking questions and observing the market and observing the world. So that's where we are. For that, first we needed to know what we were doing, and we needed a definition, a description, what archaeogemology was. And lo and behold, I searched for so long that if there was any archaeogemology definition, if there were any archaeogemology-specific publications, none. And I defined archaeogemology, and I used to be quite humble about this, but I should talk about it more. I'm actually proud that the description that I put, definition that I put, was published in an archaeological book as a one chapter, first time in archaeological world. So now, in archaeological world, if anybody looks for an archaeogemology definition, it is a public definition. And that was my chapter written on this book. And there's another chapter that we wrote, the Garnet study, as a preliminary study with Noel Adams, sorry. As I said, archaeogemology is a multidisciplinary subject. It integrates certain elements of science, but the starting point is gemology. Do you know why archaeologists love gemologists? You know, not everybody behaves like the museum curators, but especially archaeologists love gemologists because we provide testing techniques that are not destructive. We don't go to them as geologists or mineralogists. Oh, I need to get a thin section from it. Oh, I need to get some X-rays, so I need to powder some of it. We don't do that. We take the stone, we look at it, we observe, we check the inclusions, we check the RI as much as possible, which might not be possible in archaeological context. But we can tell 90% what that gemstone is in that archaeological context. I've been to many different excavations, and I'm lucky because coming from Turkey and having such a great heritage, archaeological heritage, allowed me to go to many different excavations, working with different archaeologists, also different time lines. I always work with archaeologists. I'm not an archaeologist. I cannot tell from a fake to, real engraved stone within the context of archaeology. And also, most of the time, even with the artistry or in terms of jewelry history, people rely on the metalwork, the setting itself. But if you have a loose gemstone, and if it is made in a much more, not so detailed or not faceted and so on, there's no way, like a small bead, there's no way to tell if that stone is from 2,000 years ago or made today. So it is important that you get the verification of the object itself, and the safest way to do that, that's my principle, is to work with archaeologists or archaeological objects are taken from systematic excavations, meaning they are documented the moment they were excavated. They were not dug out years ago and sold to a museum or anything like that. Many of them can be identified stylistically, yet the safest part is to be able to put it in archaeological context first. So with that, gemology starts the identification, then we move on to mineralogy, working with archaeologists. Then we move on to mineralogy to identify it as a mineral. And geology comes in terms of finding the location of that stone, where it came from. Because when I was working with archaeologists in Turkey, especially the older days that they had experiences from 1960s, 1970s, there were so many gemstones that would be excavated, and most of the time the assumption was, oh, this must be brought from somewhere else, because that's what the old texts say. Pliny the Elder, half the stones are coming from India. They don't. You know why? The whole trade was in Arabian traders, in their hands, and they would never release their resources. So they would travel to India and Burma, got their stones, and then travel back to Middle East. That's why the Silk Road exists, way before Romans. And they always said really funny stories. Remember the valley of, help me with that, the Burmese story with the birds. Yeah, with the
throwing the meat into the valley. The serpents were there, so they wouldn't go to the dangerous valleys to collect the rubies.
Right, so this is a typical idea of how the rubies. Do you know the same story was told about cinnamon? The same story was told about diamonds. Yeah. So it's all the same story, just told for different reasons. Sorry, different times for different materials. But in the end, the idea is not to release their resource. Trade secret. So in order to do that, we need the geographical origin. What I do, if I'm going to an excavation, the first thing I do is to pull the geological setting of the location. What's around it? What kind of geology it comes from? What kind of material can those rocks produce? then you can look at gemstones and try to identify them within that context. It helps. So this is a case study. This is the one that I wanted to tell you with the chromium chalcedony material. With Wangler's and Dr. Platz's studies, this material was limited literally within 1st to 3rd century AD. Nothing before then, nothing after that. And it was typical of because of the stylistic situation. And also, there's so many of them found in Europe. Do you know where they find the best gemstones? Any idea? Not graves. Yeah, there are some. In ancient contexts, Neolithic graves and so on. Baths, Roman baths. Because people would get into water with their jewelry and they would drop it and lose it. So when I go to an excavation, first thing I say, so did you actually excavate the public bath? And there are the most many gems coming from, basically. So this is, this material, I saw it over and over again, and I actually know the material from Turkey. When I was a student, I studied on a material like that. And even with that very limited gemological information, I knew that this was not a chrysoprase. I knew that this was not just a green chalcedony, because it has such a beautiful emerald green to it. And it has inclusions, and it has a certain color to it. It is so beautiful that, as you know, the revival jewelry in later years, 19th century, and again, I have no artistry background, but revival jewelry basically used a lot of Roman intaglios. And this material is found in them quite a bit. Then I did this study. I work with many people. This is quite an old one, yet not fully published. And I have basically connected this material with the material that I know from Eskişehir, and it turns out that it was only a few kilometers away from the ancient blue chalcedony mines in the same area. So it's not a surprise that they discovered something like this and used it, because in terms of cutting quality and so on, it is very close to blue chalcedony, and it is carvable. So this is one of them, and those are beautiful photos. I can't thank Robert Weldon enough. And all the gold you see around them are from revival jewelry. I think they were made by one of Castellani's students, late 1900s. Sorry, late 1800s. But I know nothing about it. I'm only interested in the stone. So this is the area that it was found, and this is, if you're not familiar with it, basically with Turkey altogether, and this is the Midwestern Anatolia, and literally within that same square, you can find those ancient blue chalcedonies. They have been mined for thousands of years. They're still there. Then these are the materials that I have collected, and compared to those, these, first they were identified as chromite. For many years, I just took it for granted, and you know, classic black spinel, cubic shape, you can see that, and obviously the matrix is full of chromium. The beauty of it, it is different than any other similar material because it also has a very high cobalt content. So we actually took this study further, did lots of LAI CPMS with GI Research Lab in California, and we have matched the Anatolian material to the ancient material just because not they look like this way or same way, or they you know, had the same inclusions or anything like that, but one-to-one chemistry of each part of the stone. And within that study, always we identify those as chromites, and it turned out to be that they were actually hercynites. If you are familiar with the spinel triangle, especially chrome spinel or black spinel triangle, hercynite is here and then chromite is here, and there's magnetite. So they were in between. It's like a solid solution series. But that is a very good indication too, because if some time in the future, somebody else finds another chromium-bearing chalcedony in a different location with black inclusions, it would be a very good idea to check the black inclusions if they were the same thing. So this is how detailed you can get with your modern mineralogy and apply it to that. What does that tell us? This, first of all, broke the whole idea of Pliny saying, well, they're all coming from India. No, definitely not. Second, it actually gave us a much more understanding of Roman trade and how they were using different materials with it, and so on. So that's the reason I love this study, and that's a good starting point, but there should be more. This is just the beginning. So, more. What is more? What do we do in gemology? How much?
I wish it could be here. I mean, the awards can just take 5 minutes, right? You just throw the diplomas and it's finished. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, I'll be quick. I get too excited when I talk about archaeogemology, so it's bad.
This is so interesting.
So what do we do in gemology? Other than identification, the first thing you do when you identify something, you look at if it is a natural or synthetic. Granted, in archaeological context, you don't have to look at synthetics because it's a modern thing. But imitations were a big deal. It was a big deal. And then we started looking at some materials that were treated, actually, ancient treatments. And how does that work even? Documented. Number one, this is another excavation I've been to in 2000, and 4th millennium BC, meaning 6,000 years old, Urartian beads, Bronze Age, going into Iron Age. Every single grave was full of thousands of beads. What happened was there that they had lots of carnelians, which is not very local, and then they had glass in different colors, meaning they needed to symbolize something with those colors, and when they couldn't find it in nature, they actually imitated it. So the white was ceramic, or what they call frit, which is a quite primitive type of ceramic, and lots of glass, because they were producing glass already a few thousand years anyway with lots of different colors. So that was there, and that was your first, imitation idea. Then faience, we were talking about these beautiful blue Egyptian, and mentioned just a few minutes ago. The thing about this is that ancient Nubian culture is almost not known. The reason being is, first, Brits were so into their Egyptian culture, so everything was elevated to that level. Everything was about ancient Egypt. Next to ancient Egypt, there was Nubia, and they were doing quite well with gemstones. They learned something ancient from ancient Egyptians. One of them was the blue faiencing, and they applied it to every single colorless material. So these stones would look like turquoise from a distance. They practically look like Paribas. And the crystals and the beads, they are all blue faience. The reason we don't know much about Nubians, they didn't have a language or a written language, so nothing lived other than their materials in archaeological context. So then history starts. Remember, history is something when we learn to read and understand. History started. The very first book on gemstones actually wasn't Pliny, sorry, but it was Theophrastus. In fact, Pliny refers to Theophrastus quite a bit. It is the only surviving ancient Greek stone-related book. You can still find it. It was translated by two chemists in 1950s, and it's a very good read. It's beautiful. It gives you a lot of idea about what's going on in those days. But also he mentions certain treatments. With that, you understand that treatments are not just for the looks, but for the necessity. They needed to produce certain stones for culinary purposes, and they did. They got rid of some porous stones by treating them. That's not gemology, but still. according to Pliny, treatments are the most profitable fraud in existence, because treatments were not for treating stones like we did today to make them look better, but to fake something. So they quench crackled quartz with green so that it would look like emerald. They would boil agates in honey so that they would become brown. But they did not use the treatments for making something better. They were literally making it a little bit more closer to the natural stone that they wanted to imitate. This is itself was one conference, by the way, so I'm not going to go into any more details. And then one of the German museum curator repeated the recipe of how these agates were treated with honey, and that's what you get. Why do you think they would do it? Any idea? Why would they want to have some brown? Well, here. How many intaglios that you saw with beautiful colored layers and used? And that's there. And this is my next trigger. After that, it was so common. This is a papyrus that was found in Greek-speaking ancient Egypt. And they had recipes after recipes of how to treat gemstones and make them look like something else. So if you're familiar with the researcher Kurt Nassau, he actually mentions this in a chapter in his treatments or gem enhancements book. I'm going to go very, very fast now.
Yes.
Yeah. So while in Europe, everything was about medieval and dark ages, and everything was magic, everything was, treating the stones so that you can use it for your headache and so on and so forth. Eastern world was not doing that. Al-Biruni is one of them. In the 11th century, 10th century, he published a book, he wrote a book on gemstones, and he was talking about 3 different colored red stones. Were all spinel, garnet, and ruby. It wasn't that, oh, we know about spinel because we decided to have gemology in our lives and we separated ruby from spinel. No, they knew it well over 1,000 years. And he talks about a particular ruby treatment in it. And the same recipe was repeated by one of the very important authorities in corundum treatments. And the exact same results came out. Because Al-Biruni was a very good scientist and he noted everything in terms of experimentation as well, the recipe could be repeated. I'm sorry.
We have to move on, sorry. So I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Çiğdem.
So I'm not going to talk about this. Maybe you can invite me some other time. Because yes, this is a study in making, and that's quite exciting. But just, I want to show you something, one more. Look at all those carnelians throughout, uniform, beautiful, red. Remember this picture? We're looking at 300,000 years ago. You see this? Do you know what they are? Ochre. Ochre is an iron oxide pigment people used. And 300 years ago, if you go back to this, 300,000 years ago, they knew how to change the color of ochre because it is mainly limonite and hematite, so they could heat ochre, and then they could change the color of it, and they cut every single chalcedony material by heating. And in the process, most of them turned into carnelian. So the study is in making. I'm going to do experiments and publish that hopefully soon. And we still use ochre, so it's not something new. Hundreds of thousands of years, we knew about heat treatments. We just didn't make the connection. And the reason I got so worked up about this was, in trade, everybody sits down and talks about, the most traditional, oldest treatment is oiling emeralds. No, it's not. We've been heating stones for the last 300,000 years. The evidence shows that. So let's do that in that way. I'm not going to go more, but these are the examples. And, you know, since there are more students here, there is a big world out there after gemology with your diploma. As Wuyi said, it's just the beginning. And more the merrier. So try different things. It's not just about buying and selling stones. Gemology is fun. And you can do a lot more with your gemology. Thank you. I'm sorry about the time.
Thank you, Çiğdem. It's okay. Thank you very much indeed. It was a wonderful presentation. I'm so sorry to kick you off the stage, because as you know, I'm passionate also about archaeogemology. It brings us the need for terminology, know the trade routes, and look into the documentation and interpret what the old writing said. Sometimes what he said is not exactly what it's meant. So yes, thank you very much, Çiğdem. We don't have time for questions, and we have to move on. Thank you very much.
If you have any questions and if you have any questions and want to ask, not right today, but in the future, I do my best to answer questions and help, especially students. That's my goal in life. Promote education. Please come and see me. I can give you my email address, and you can contact me on anything related to archaeogemology. Thank you.
It's very kind. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. One of the reasons you come to these conferences is to meet the experts and then establish a relationship. Well, our next speaker, Wang, you only have 5 minutes, Dr. Wang. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We have a story together. I stole his lunch today, and now I'm stealing minutes from your talk. Dr. Wang has a PhD in geology. He's Vice President of Research and Development of the GIA. If you want to watch him on YouTube, he has several videos, like the Canary Yellow video on the GIA Symposium 2018, wasn't it? So today he will talk to us about green fluorescence in diamonds, and green, by the way, it's a very good color in football. So please, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Wang. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray, for the introduction. It's a great honor to be able to join this symposium. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and it's so nice to meet you all here. Well, while we're waiting for my first slide, I'll get started because I don't want to really overrun anything. Diamond is special, it's an interesting material. Many of us study diamond, the physicists, chemists, geologists, and so do our gemologists. We study diamond, actually, not many of us study diamond itself. Actually, we study the defects of the diamond. It is the defects that gives all types of colors, all types of special physical, chemical properties of a diamond, so we can develop a lot of applications. So many years ago, when I attended a conference in England, Professor Mark Newton said something very interesting I want to share with you. He basically said, diamond is just like a human being. It's the defects that make them interesting. So I want to share this with you. I want to talk about today the 2 defects. It's H3, H4, these 2 defects in diamond, how their fluorescence is going to impact color of a diamond. We know fluorescence could impact color of diamond, particularly the blue fluorescence, but green fluorescence would create fancy color of diamond, sometimes go very nice fancy color. And how to introduce the defect, how to separate the natural from artificially treated diamonds with green fluorescence. That is I'll explain to you, became an issue in the industry, how we in GIA try to resolve that. I'm going to focus on 2 defects, H3 and H4. H3 is 2 nitrogen plus 1 vacancy. We know nitrogen is the number 7 element in the periodic table, carbon is the number 6. So nitrogen is slightly bigger in diameter than carbon. So 2 nitrogen plus 1 vacancy is perfect to replace 3 carbon atoms. That's H3 defect. H4 is just 2 times bigger, 2 times size of H3. These two defects have some interesting features. They absorb blue light, so create a yellow color, and they also fluorescence green if the diamond nitrogen is a medium or low in concentration. So H3, H4 will fluorescence green, and actually, if we look at this picture, this is a diamond, so beautiful green fluorescence to UV light. But what excites the green fluorescence most effectively is light with the 470 nanometers. That's blue light. So it's a visible light. It's a visible light that excites fluorescence of H3, H4 most effectively. So as long as you look at a diamond, this type of diamond, in day-night, the fluorescence of green fluorescence is just part of that stone. It's absolutely not avoidable. So for many years, decades, there's a definition, the term called green transmitters, have been used in trade for a long time. I just tried to clearly define this term, what it means. So we're talking about green transmitter is a color of a diamond, a clearly impact by fluorescence of H3 and or H4 to visible light. So I tried to show you some green transmitters we examined in GIA. The color could be very subtle. This color diamond is color of this diamond is graded as E, and it comes to here to vivid green, blue, blue, green, that type of color. So yellow is from absorption, the green is from fluorescence. Since fluorescence impact the color of this diamond looks so bright, like a neon color, so bright. So this feature is probably the unique subgroup of a diamond that a fluorescence impact a diamond so much that feature is similar to ruby, particularly to Birmingham ruby. So Birmingham ruby is so red because not only absorption, but the fluorescence of the red impact the visibility of the red color of these rubies. So this is kind of a unique group of a diamond that share the similar feature with ruby. Obviously, the defects H3 and H4 can be introduced naturally and it can also be introduced artificially. It is obviously very important for us in the trade to accurately separate these two groups of diamonds. How the H3, H4 defects could be formed in diamond, and it is very simple, and it could be a center in diamond, capture a vacancy, form H3, of course, it needs to be heat up to let the vacancy move in the diamond lattice, or it could be B center of nitrogen, capture a vacancy, and also need to be heated to form H4. So the three conditions to form H3 or H4 is a nitrogen. Most of natural diamond have a lot of nitrogen, and they need a vacancy, and they need to heat to let the vacancy to combine with nitrogen. It is easy to find nitrogen, and the heating is not a problem. The availability of a vacancy is the key thing in controlling the formation or generation of H3 and H4. How to create a vacancy in a diamond, either naturally or artificially? So there's two possibilities. So one is to release vacancy from vacancy clusters. Dr. Thomas Hatchwan mentioned this morning that a lot of natural diamond, particularly the brown color diamond, have vacancy cluster. And another way to create a vacancy is just simply use a high energy beam irradiation. Again, that could happen naturally and also can happen in the laboratory because natural Earth surface has a lot of radiation features. You're going to spend some minutes with me about this table. I basically summarize all the possibilities how defect H3, H4 could be formed in diamond, again, naturally and artificially. In natural diamond, we have a lot of A center and a B center, so in type 1AB diamond. And the vacancy could come from a vacancy cluster, or otherwise is from irradiation. For naturally deformed brown color diamonds, they have a lot of vacancy cluster. If we do artificial HPHT treatment in laboratory, that will release vacancy from vacancy cluster combined with the ALB center from H3H4. So that's a treatment, HPHT treatment. The similar process, what I call the annealing process, a deformed natural diamond with a vacancy cluster could be annealed naturally and also form H3H4. Now, if we focus on the vacancy artificially or irradiation introduced, it could be artificially introduced and heating from H3H4. And the key part today we're going to discuss, would that occur naturally? So first, I want to explain a little bit, and we focus on HPHT treatment of a brown color diamond. So we know diamond formed in the Earth's spherical mantle about 150 to 200 kilometers. When diamond formed here, transported to the Earth's surface, some of the diamonds could be very strongly deformed, like those brown diamonds we see from Argyle diamond mine. And they formed a lot of vacancy cluster. And this one, as mentioned, is brown color. Once these diamonds are HPHT treated, this technology was introduced by GE at the end of last century. It's about 25, 30 years technology. And you see this brown diamond turn to green, yellow, yellow, green. This green color is from fluorescence. If we look at the spectroscopy of this type of diamond, it's very easy to separate to know they are HPHT treated. This is a H2, a very strong H2 defect that should not or never happen in natural diamond that could go this strong. And here, the peak, the lective peak, that's from H3 fluorescence. So it's very typical if we look at a diamond with this green, yellow-green diamond with this type of absorption spectroscopy feature, we would know that's HPHT treated. Now, if we do go to the natural irradiation, natural annealing of this type of diamond, when diamond formed in the Earth's spherical mantle, plastically deformed, it could stay there for millions, hundreds of millions of years before being transferred to the Earth's surface. During that time, this diamond could be annealed naturally, but absolutely at a much lower temperature. Normally, it's below 1,000 degrees C, but time matters. For millions, hundreds of millions of years, that plastic formation, the vacancy cluster could be heated and diffused and combined with the H3, combined with the A center and B center to form H3 and H4. Let me show you a couple of samples. This type of diamond normally come from Brazil, from British Guiana, and you see very strong dislocation lines at the surface, and it's so beautiful green, yellow, yellow, green colors. This is some of the examples we tested in GIA. When we look at the absorption spectroscopy, we don't see H2 at all. The features are very similar to HPHT treated, but in spectroscopy, we don't see H2, and obviously we see H3, H4 fluorescence that generated this negative peak. And when we look at the distribution of H3 and H4, this is a fluorescence image of a diamond. Instead of that following the diamond growth pattern, it follows the dislocation lines. That's a good indication the H3, H4 are formed from the vacancies released by vacancy clusters. Now, we move to this group. The artificially irradiation generate the vacancy. This is just a facility of electron beam irradiation close to New York City in the island. and we use it a lot for our research. And the New York treaters, they use the same facility to treat their diamonds. And electron beam in this tower is accelerated to 2 MeV, 3 MeV. That energy is enough to create vacancies in diamond. So what I try to show you here is a blue diamond immediately after irradiation is a treated color, and then heated, turn to green transmitters with yellow-green, green-yellow color. When we look at the spectrum of these stones, after irradiation, a lot of vacancy, a strong GR1 absorption. After annealing, the GR1 disappeared, and H3H4 introduced and created this selective peak that is emission. In the industry, we see a lot of green, yellow, yellow-green diamond like this. They are artificially irradiated. So my topic today, mainly I want to focus is, does this type of diamond exist naturally? They are naturally irradiated and annealed. Do they exist? If they exist, how do we separate this group of diamond, naturally irradiated and annealed, from artificially irradiated and annealed? For this HPHC treated and a naturally annealed type of diamonds, it was a challenge, but it's not a challenge at all now for us in the laboratory to accurately identify this group of diamond, and the challenge is, how do we separate these two groups of diamond? The story starts from here. In GIA, we receive a lot of fancy color diamonds for report, and in the last few years, we've received a lot of diamonds with this type of a color. And just to be very honest, I caught a good amount of them with the color origin undetermined. So we create a lot of very angry clients in India. About 2 years ago, I went to Mumbai because I complained so much. I went to Mumbai to give the industry a talk. Try to explain them to them why we call some of these diamonds undetermined in color origin. And for the first time, I was yelled by the client in my talk. I never had that type of experience, but it seriously yelled at me, how could GI do this to call this type of diamonds undetermined? So we started a serious investigation to see if we can resolve the issue. We were told this diamond are from Zimbabwe, an interesting area in Africa, from the Moronga diamond mine. So we know this mine for a pretty good while. So I'm going to explain to you what we did. We went to the mine, what we did there, and how we did also the experimental research, try to resolve this issue. So first, we went to Zimbabwe. It's not an issue for an American company to visit Zimbabwe. We fly to Harare, and then we took a small flight to the mine. As you can see here, this is the only small area with concrete in the runway, and the runway is a yellow color. Fortunately, we landed quite safely. I was nervous to board this plane, but when I saw the two pilots, very, very professional, and making me feel much safer. But our trip went very well. Here's what we see, the mine, Moronga diamond mine, in the east part of Zimbabwe. It's a huge operation, it's an open operation. And this is the area that is the only layer of rock that have diamond inside. This rock is not kimberlite, it's a conglomerate. The white part is quartz, the red part is feldspar. Very simple, the sedimentary rocks. It's not kimberlite. The concentration of a diamond here is very high. It's 30 carats per ton of the rock. That's almost 30 times higher than average kimberlite diamond mine. And every year we were told they mine about 4 million carats of diamond from this mine. And 10% are top gem quality, 20% are semi-gem quality, another 70% are industrial quality. That's what we were told, and we got samples for this type of a rock. What we observed is a huge operation. The rock is dumped here and get crashed with the belt, transferred to all different area, crashed with different size. Everything is automatic. A very impressive operation. In the far side around here, some buildings, diamonds were automatically recovered without human beings, or very, very limited interaction by human being. So we know when we saw diamond from this mine, they are natural for sure, no treatment involved. As you can see, we do see some diamonds, gem quality with green fluorescence. That's true, they have a diamond, could be green transmitters. When we look at diamond carefully, every single Zimbabwe diamonds rough, they have radiation stains. These green, brown dots are created by natural irradiation by alpha particles. When we see this type of pattern, it means a lot to us because a green radiation stain, after they get heated to about 500 degrees C, it turns to brown color. When we see these brown stains and green stains with almost a similar pattern, just shift a little bit, that means this diamond were irradiated at a lower temperature. They had green radiation stains, and then got heated, naturally turned to brown, and then the temperature dropped again, and create another set of green radiation stains. So this temperature change from low to high and come back to low temperature again, that would change the defects in the diamond. It's a heating process, and that would be able to create H3, H4. So this radiation stains means a lot. And it's so interesting to see every single rough diamond from Zimbabwe that have radiation stains. Well, another thing we did is almost every single Zimbabwe diamond goes to Dubai for auction. Actually, this is has been operated by a gentleman from Italy. He's just an amazing person. He buys 100% of a Zimbabwe diamond and moves to Dubai for auction. So he helped us to go to the auction house. That's where we want to see what stones are auctioned. This is my handwriting. I make a note. I just like a buyer went to the auction house. I would be able to see any diamonds I want to see together with my colleagues. I look at this stone and it shows green fluorescence. I have a UV lamp with me. The green fluorescence. I really want to see this diamond. Who is going to get this diamond? So with a lot of support from the auction house, we would be able to know who got this diamond, who wins this diamond, and the client will cooperate with us that allow us to examine the sealed diamond. The diamond is sealed. We don't want them to open. We want the stone come to GI lab when it is sealed, and then we send people to their factory to monitor their cutting process to make sure there's no treatment involved with the manufacture of this diamond. So this is how this diamond end up from rough to blocked and to fully faceted. So it's a fancy, intense yellow-green. So this is the first diamond we confirmed. It could be green transmitter, could be a natural green transmitter. We have the full evidence to support that. And this is another one, and this is a typical auction label, a group of stones. I picked up this one, and the same story, after blocked, and then fully faceted, this goes to fancy green yellow, and end up a very big 507 carat with everything under GI's observation. Now, I just want to show, we did a lot of stone like this. I want to show you 4 or 5 stones we examined. So they cover the whole range we observed in the laboratory. So from as low as an F color to fancy intense yellow-green color. So with this, basically with our visit to the mine and with what we observed from the auction house and worked closely with the cutters, and we guarantee there's no treatment during the manufacture process. The conclusion is yes, the Zimbabwean Mronge diamond mine produces these are green transmitters. Well, the issue right now, we know they are natural green transmitters, how to separate them from this treated. Let me just do a very simple one slide to talk about the geology of the diamond. We know in the east part of Zimbabwe that was a basin. A billion years ago was the East Zimbabwe Basin. These sedimentary rocks, sedimentary stones were deposited. You can imagine that time you see the quartz get so round, there must be a lot of water transferred quartz, feldspar, and some diamond to deposit it in the east part of Zimbabwe, together with radioactive element. So the radiation start immediately. At the beginning, the temperature is low. This is the temperature and it's the time and the temperature plot. At the beginning, temperature was low, so they create green radiation stains. At the middle, for whatever reason, the temperature increased. The stain from green turned to brown, and the very loose sedimentary material turned to very hard conglomerate. Now it's a very hard rock. And at some stage, for some geological reason, at now, as we can imagine, it is a much lower temperature. The radiation continues, the temperature dropped. Now we see a same set of green radiation stains. So this is basically a simple summary of a geology of this sedimentary rock. At the beginning, temperature was low, and then at the middle, temperature increased, and then dropped again. To compare with artificial treatment, in the laboratory, we use much higher dosage of electron beam because we want to finish the experiment, the treatment in a few minutes. The dosage is much higher and lasts for much shorter time. And then we heat the stones after irradiation to much higher temperature. So there are some very clear difference between, in physics, in the environment, between natural irradiation in Zimbabwe and from this happened in the factory. So theoretically, we should be able to find some difference. Hopefully, we can do that non-destructively. This is what we did. And we did a lot of irradiation experiment in addition to a very extensive documentation of these diamonds from Zimbabwe. We know they are from Zimbabwe. We have a database to compare. And we did a lot of irradiation experiment. So first, we used the facility in India, in Surat. As you probably know, 95% of the diamond in the world have been produced in Surat. They have very, very high-tech irradiation facility to treat color of diamonds. We convinced them to work with us. When I asked the owner we want to create this type of a color of diamond, he immediately told me how to prepare the starting material for him to treat to this color. Obviously, he knows his business very well. And then in the United States, we treat with much more controlled conditions. So we control the starting material with a varying concentration of nitrogen. And also we treat the diamonds at a varying dosage of irradiation and also different energy of electron beam. And then we heat the diamond up from 300 degrees C to about 1200 degrees C with a very small increment of temperature from 50 to about 100 degrees C. What I try to show you here is a stone before treatment, immediately after irradiation, and from different heating temperatures. And at about 800, 900, it turned to yellow-green, green-yellow color, green transmitters. At each step, we document, we analyze the diamond very, very extensively, just as what we did for these stones from Zimbabwe. We use a gemological method and a spectroscopy method as the technology we have in GIA. As you can imagine, I'm not going to talk about the details. As you can imagine, we have very, very sophisticated technologies in GIA to document diamonds. I just want to show you one slide about how we separate these two groups, natural from artificially irradiated. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the criteria we established in GIA. This is a photoluminescence spectroscopy at liquid nitrogen temperature. The laser is A30 nanometers. It's an infrared laser to excite some features The red curve is a diamond, a green transmitter. We know they are treated. All other colors of curves are Zimbabwe green transmitters. As you can see from this peak, the very strong peak is Raman 9 of the diamond. Every diamond would show this peak. There's no difference between natural and the treated. And we see H2 in these two groups. There's no difference. But as you can see, there are some peaks that occur only in natural diamond, but they basically are absent in, they occur only in treated, but absent in natural stones. I just want to show you this example to show you there are some way we can separate these two groups of diamond. So a brief summary, I hope I save you a few minutes. A brief summary of my talk is H3, H4, they are artifacts. They are very common in diamonds. And they can be introduced naturally, and they can also be introduced artificially to change the color of diamond with a suitable concentration of the defects and also the suitable concentration of other defects in the diamond. Other defects also impact the contribution of H3, H4, and they could have a significant impact of a diamond color, the body color, through absorption and also through a fluorescence, and it could create some really beautiful, top quality, fancy color diamonds. It is important for us in the jewelry industry to separate these naturally colored stones and from this artificially irradiated, artificially treated. And I'm very happy to tell you, after a very, very extensive investigation and research in GIA, we have made a great progress in the last couple of years to separate naturally irradiated green transmitters from artificially irradiated green transmitters. So after we finished this type of work, and a year and a half later, after my first talk in Mumbai, I went back again and give them another talk. So it was much better experience. Thank you very much for this opportunity to allow me to talk. I'll be happy to answer if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wang. We have time for one question, and please make it a difficult one because he's a real expert. Do we have a question in the audience? Oh, come on, are you serious?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so you can reach out, Dr. Wang, later on, and thank you very, very much for a wonderful talk. It actually demonstrates that a defect, it's a positive thing. Right, very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Wang. Our last, but at least not the least, of our speakers is one of the few scientists that can actually convey very complex subjects into simple ones and the simple concepts into relevant ones. So he's a top-notch geologist into diamond formation, into understanding how diamonds form. If you have diamonds, don't send diamonds to Professor Nestola because he slices everything. So he's a diamond killer, but it's the only way that there is to study, for example, the inclusions, to study by the way, do you know what is the most abundant mineral in the planet? Raise of hands, the most abundant mineral. You say? Yes? In the lithosphere, that's correct. But in the planet, it's bridgemanite, the favorite mineral of Professor Nestola, professor of mineralogy in the University of Padua, and he's the founder of the International Diamond School, and it's an honor to have you here today, Professor. Thank you very much. And he will give us a talk about diamonds and water. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great. I'll give you my 50 euros later. So, let's see. Okay, so I'll try to be fast. I know that there are things much more important in my talk in a few minutes. Yeah, sorry, I'm a geologist. I'm so sorry. What to do? But I love gemology, to be honest. And I love diamonds. That's my problem. And every time I have to burn out a diamond, yes, I crush and burn out diamonds. That's my life. Sometimes I don't destroy diamonds. I remember the $25 million blue diamonds. You remember Wuyi? In that case, we could not destroy the diamond. But yeah, but there is something extremely important for geologists when we talk about diamonds, and is the fluids, water. Okay, in geology, if we are here, it's thanks to water, thanks to fluids, and thanks to what these fluids does in the deep earth. So diamonds and fluids have a very, very nice relationship. And today I'm trying to show you why. This talk is also thanks to the huge research fund that I got from the European Research Council. I got just recently 3.5 million euros from Brussels, and I hope to spend very well this money. Okay, so let's start with a very important classification that sometime, you know, I understand that Dr. Cody said that opal is much more complex than diamond in classifying, but I must tell that this is absolutely not true, because even now, no one single jewelry would tell me if a diamond is lithospheric or super deep diamond. And I know why, because to do that, you need extremely complex analysis that you can only do in laboratory. That's the problem. So the most abundant diamonds all over the world are the lithospheric one, these ones. You can see these diamonds are usually formed down to around 200 kilometers depth. They form around 120, 130 kilometers. Okay? They have, of course, beautiful shape, morphology. These are natural diamonds. They are not cut. And you see this very nice cubohedron shape. Okay? They usually have a lot of nitrogen, as Wuyi said just a few minutes ago. They can even have up to 4,000 ppm of nitrogen, which is a lot. Okay? And finally, inclusions. So, for me, the importance of diamond is not the diamond itself, but it's the inclusions. Because diamonds is the only material that is able to transport inside real fragments of the deep earth up to the surface. It's a kind of taxi driver, the only one, by the way. All the other material, starting from 200 kilometers depth, will transform during the ascent because of the temperature, because of the pressure. Diamond, nothing. That when it's formed and traps minerals at very big deep in the earth, then this is safe. Okay, so this is why I don't care about diamonds. I destroy them. What is inside diamonds is crazy important for geology. Okay, so the second category, only 1% of all diamonds. And actually, jewelry should know this, because these diamonds should cost 100 times more than lithospheric. But I know it's difficult. Okay, so the super deep diamonds, or also called sublithospheric diamonds, form at not less than 300 kilometers depth in the mantle, which is much more. And they can be formed down to 1,000 kilometers depth. Remember that the human being only drilled down to 12 kilometers, 12. Okay, these diamonds can reach 1,000 kilometers depth. No other material can come from this depth to the surface of our planet. Okay, so these diamonds, depth, morphology. Almost every single super deep diamond has not any regular morphology. Recently, we are finding some, let's say, anomalous story, but so far, this is the story. Nitrogen, usually they don't have nitrogen. They can have some nitrogen up to 80, 60, 90 ppm of nitrogen. So, inclusions. The inclusions that we find in super deep diamonds are really unique. Really unique. And also, don't forget, the size. All the huge diamonds are usually sublithospheric. That's important. And here, there's a third category of diamond, which is much, much, much less studied, because they are so bad. Look at that. What we call fluid-rich diamond. See? Let me see the laser. Okay. You see this part of the diamond? Nobody wants it, except me. Of course, this is the typical gem quality diamond. We call this kind of diamonds coated diamonds, right? So this is what we usually call as a fibrous diamonds. But indeed, they are very fluid-rich diamonds, you see? And they are milky, cloudy. Nobody cares about that. We don't even know how many of these diamonds are present because, of course, not many companies take attention to these diamonds, right? So we don't know the real numbering of that. But these diamonds are very important, okay? You'll see why. Okay, why these diamonds are milky, cloudy? Because they are full of fluid inclusions. The fluid inclusions are extremely small, but contain up to 10–20% of water. And this water come from extremely deep regions of the earth. And when they formed, how this water was there? So for geologists, this is a crucial question. And what is really strange is that they are less attractive, and I think this is the reason why we didn't study much then. Okay, because when I talk about diamonds, immediately, even the committee in Brussels, when I said, okay, I want to study diamonds, but when I show the pictures, what is that? Okay? Okay, so we don't even know how many of these diamonds are. We even don't classify, actually, these diamonds, okay? Today, I asked to a friend of mine, please, if you find some very bad diamonds, like this, send to Padua. I can burn out. Nobody complain if I destroy this, right? Thank you. Okay, so the typical boring image that we geologists show, and don't think, usually we cut the cube at 900 kilometers depth. It's not because we don't know what there is below. It's just because from 660 down to 2,900, everything is the same. Bridgmanite, so now you will never forget it. MgSiO3. I'm a mineralogist. You learn this forever. MgSiO3, Bridgmanite, the most abundant mineral in the earth. Okay. Okay, so the lithospheric diamonds usually form below this area that are called cratonic areas, are those areas that are, let's say, more tectonically stable. What means? Not much earthquakes. It's a very stable area, and you have diamonds. Italy, for example, you don't find diamonds in Italy. We are not in a very stable tectonic area. No, well, we are exactly in the middle of two plates. Exactly there's no way you cannot get diamonds. You can get diamonds, for example, Canada, Siberia, of course, South Africa, Australia, where you have cratonic areas, right? Okay, so, and super deep diamonds instead form usually related to the subduction plates. You know, this is a tectonic plate, goes down, see, and here you can have a lot of fluids, interactions and things, and then you can form super deep diamonds all over here, okay? So the question is, okay, and what about the fluid-rich diamonds? We didn't even show any picture of them. Of course, we don't know much, so we don't know what to show. So I just wanted to convince you, as I done with the Brussels committee, that it's important. Okay, I hope you believe me. Otherwise, I'm in trouble. So are they lithospheric? Remember, lithospheric means 200 kilometers depth. Sublithospheric means down to 1,000. Today, we don't even know if these are really lithospheric or not. So those fluids are deep, are not deep, are shallow, well, don't know. Okay, so before you have seen that the cloudy, the coated diamonds has this fluid-rich region around the gem quality diamond. But actually, sometimes we found the opposite. Sorry, I see that's some noise. Sometimes we find that actually the fluid-rich region is in the core of the diamond, which means that probably sometimes they are primordial fluids, are not just later stage products, okay? Which is important, okay? This is a typical image of this fluid-rich region. You see, this is the gem quality, and this is the fluid-rich region. You see, these are sub-micrometric, and this is the reason why we don't study them. When you go below 1 micron, goodbye. It becomes technologically very complex. So better not to study. It's just a problem. And this actually, when you do the chemical analysis of all this stuff, like a bulk, then you see that this fluid inclusion actually contain water, contain carbonates, potassium, sodium, almost the entire periodic table. That's kind of garbage, which is good for geology, always. Okay, so the question is, are these fluids the remnant fluids after the diamond crystallization? Are the mother fluids? What is this fluid? And also, we still don't know how they changed as a function of all this temperature and pressure changing, and also an environment where diamonds move. So I'm just saying that we don't know much about this. I want to tell you that these fluids are clearly important in geology. And the reason, don't forget one thing. If you have diamond, it's because we have fluids. Otherwise, you cannot form diamonds in nature. When we say, I take a pencil, I give pressure and temperature, and I produce diamonds from graphite, this only works in laboratory. Nature, no. Why? Because to form diamond directly from graphite, you need a lot of energy. Nature doesn't want to consume energy by this way. Why? If the nature has the carbon in a fluid, it's much, much easier. You save a lot of energy. And therefore, diamond form from a fluid. Okay, so if there's a fluid, there's a diamond. If there's no fluid, there's no diamond. Very easy. Okay, so now I'm sure that you are convinced, right? Hopefully. Some very quick overview of the mineral inclusions. I'm a mineralogist. There's no way, you have to learn that. Okay, remember, when you find something transparent in diamond, probably it's olivine, okay? Oh, sorry, magnesium iron silicate. Olivine in nature is usually green, not in diamond. In diamond, it's colorless. We can discuss why, but it's another story. Then my favorite, the garnets. Before, you show beautiful garnet, but this is also real garnet. And usually, diamond explorers search for this color because this is the typical G10 garnet, which indicates a lot of diamonds when you find it, okay? Instead, this kind of garnet tells us that the diamond is formed in subduction, when the plate goes down, okay? So they are very important indicators. This is not emerald. This is just a pyroxene, like jadeite, for example. In diamond, you can find omphacite, which is a solid solution, you said that before. Jadeite diopside, or just diopside. In this case, they are diopside. I love that. I destroyed this diamond, sorry. It's so beautiful. And then we have even much worse inclusions. But remember, when you see something black, strange things, it looks like, okay, it's just some imperfection of the diamond. For us, these inclusions are crazily important because they are iron sulfides. Iron sulfides contain two elements, rhenium and osmium. They are kind of two brothers that are used by geologists to provide the age of the diamond. This is why we know that a diamond is forever. Not in my lab, anyway. The diamond is forever because we discover, thanks to this dating system, that they can be up to 3.5 billion years old. Actually, we didn't understand yet why there are not diamonds older than 3.5 billion years old. That's interesting. The Earth is 4.57 billion, okay? But this is another talk. Okay, then oxide, some oxide, magnesium chromite. These in lithospheric diamonds. Sorry, I forgot to say. All these inclusions that you have seen now are in lithospheric diamonds. And then let's go to the sublithospheric diamonds, my love. So 52% of inclusions in sublithospheric diamonds are ferropericlase. Very complex formula, MgO. The second most abundant mineral in our planet after bridgemanite. okay? So, and I remember when Wuyi called me to say, okay, we have a diamond with a beautiful iridescence. When you see this color, usually it's ferropericlase. And then we studied this diamond in 2021, 2010. It was a lot of work, actually. We got a Nature Geoscience paper, actually, on this. And we discovered, this is the diamond, remember? And look, we have this inclusion here that in Padua, we developed a method to calculate the depth of formation when you study ferropericlase. And we discovered that this diamond was 700 kilometers formation. But I tell you that here, you see this one? This is the first time that we found 3 minerals, ringwoodite, bridgemanite, and ferropericlase in contact, which mark exactly 660 kilometers depth. It's a kind of picture frozen at 660 kilometers depth. Breite, another mineral that when you find a colorless inclusion, you cannot by optical image to see which is the inclusion. You need the Raman or you need diffraction, X-rays or laser. No way. Breite is a calcium silicate, super deep. And my big love, ringwoodite. Ringwoodite is a mineral that can be formed only between 520 kilometers depth and 660. When you find this mineral in a diamond, means that the diamond formed in that region at that depth. But remember, in 2014, we found this inclusion. This was the first time in the Earth. But the most important story is that this inclusion contained 1.4% of water. And since ringwoodite represents 34% of the transition zone between 410 and 660 kilometers depth, this means that in the transition zone, we have 3 times the Pacific Ocean. Okay, so this reconciles the difference between the Earth and meteorites. Meteorites always have much more water in average than the Earth until 2014, because we discovered that actually this difference was just very well hidden in the transition zone. Okay, so now, I have to also go quickly. So the question is, which mineral we have in fluid-rich diamonds? You see, I have a very good talk about lithospheric diamonds, sublithospheric diamonds, beautiful image. What about the third category of diamonds? Poor fluid-rich diamonds, completely neglected by the community. Well, the answer is that we don't know. Otherwise, maybe we should have give me the money for that. It's a good question. Well, actually, there are papers that say, yeah, we have inclusions in these diamonds. There should be something like type similar. Science is not like that. I want to say which minerals we have in these fluid-rich diamonds. For sure, if there are inclusions in these diamonds, they must be very small. Otherwise, of course, we already discovered that. They should be nanometric. That's a problem. How do you study nanometric inclusions in diamonds? Well, this is the reason why I already spent 2 million euros of the 3.5, because I bought a special instrumentation to study nanometric inclusions. But before spending 2 million euros, you should do some tests, right? And I did it. So remember, this was the image close to the other one before. This is the cloudy region. This is the optical image. This is 20 microns, so these are 1 micron probably. And many of these inclusions is accepted that they are fluid. My question was very easy, but are you sure that some of these inclusions are minerals? There's a big difference between fluids and minerals, right? Even in terms of which techniques we should use to analyze them. Okay, and what I've done, we took a diamond. This is a very nice diamond, actually. Why? Because you have, actually, the gem quality over here. the fluid-rich zone over here, and again, a gem quality area here. So I took this area, I broke the diamond. Sorry. I broke the diamond, and not only, I put in the furnace quickly in atmosphere, because, you know, if you want to destroy a diamond, you need oxygen, you need the atmosphere, right? And in just a few hours, nothing remains. You know, you produce beautiful CO2, because the carbon of the diamond reacts with the air, and then you have CO2. Actually not. What I discovered is that there remains some kind of powderish, some residual whitish powder. Okay, what is that? I just placed this powdery in this special sample holder, and I traveled to Germany to test the prototype instrument that I wanted to test, to buy. I went to Germany here. This is the prototype machine. It's a kind of microelectron diffractometer, okay? It's not a TM. And it was very surprising. Yeah, I'm like a child, I know. You know, I want to buy, I remember that day, I said, I want to buy this machine. Yeah, okay, well, it cost around 2 million. No, I want to buy it. I didn't have any euro at that moment, just to be clear. Okay, so this is the first image that I measured that day. This grain is 100 nanometers. Remember, 1 micron is 0.001 millimeters. 100 nanometers means 0.0001 millimeters. Okay, so it's getting complicated. And for who understand diffraction, this is a crazy analysis. It's like to study a crystal of 100 microns. So technologically, this is something totally crazy, okay? So really, and this image is the first identified nanometric inclusions in fluid-rich diamonds. And by chance, it was never discovered before in any diamond. The name is akermanite, is a silicate of calcium magnesium. And again, look at the spot. These spots here tells you that this is a crystal. It's not a micro powder material, it's a crystal, just small. Some dignity also for this crystal. For me, it's like big crystals, nothing changed. And this was not just a single crystal. This was an aggregation of crystals. 200 nanometer, 20 nanometers thick. So we were able to refine the crystal structure. When I say crystal structure, I mean all the position of the atoms in 3D, okay? And which kind of atoms. This is the structure of a mineral. And this was the first time of a nanometric inclusion refined ever in diamonds. So not only for fluid-rich diamonds, in general. And we were also able to refine the occupancy, which means the composition. So this was a calcium strontium magnesium silicate, first time in diamond. Not only we found norsetite, never heard, of course, not even my colleagues, because who study diamonds don't know about this kind of minerals, because this mineral will never found in diamond. Mineralite, actually, this carbonate was found in super deep diamonds before this, not in fluid rich, in super deep diamonds. Anatase, okay, it's never found in fluid rich diamonds, but it's common. Cellite, magnesium fluorine. Totally crazy. Okay, you can tell me, okay, Fabrizio, you combusted the diamond, so be careful, man. Maybe you produce some of these inclusions from the fluid that was in the diamond. I cannot exclude that, except for a akermanite, which can only be formed from 1000 degrees C, and we didn't reach 1000 degrees. So this must be there before the combustion. And mineralite, which is the other carbonate that is a very high temperature, carbonate. So at least 2 minerals are real, not just daughter from the fluid. So, trying to conclude, what is the meaning of what I found? All these minerals that I mentioned now are not just an aggregation of strange minerals altogether, are the typical association of carbonatite. Now, probably, I don't know how many of you know what is a carbonatite, but I can tell you that many politicians know what is a carbonatite. You know why? Because carbonatites are the rocks that today many governments are searching for rare earth elements. It's the main host of rare earth elements. So when I say carbonatite, what's going on? Okay? And it's strange, huh? I found a complete association of carbonatite in a diamond. Well, carbonatite means that it's carbon. There should be some relationship with diamond. So the point is, my pilot study, this was the first time done, my pilot study demonstrated that actually the diamond was formed by the interaction, for sure, of a carbonatite melt with the silicate mantle rocks, because the carbonatite has the carbonates, and the silicates comes from the mantle. So there's a kind of interaction, which is okay, which could be expected. But the point is, all diamonds form this way, or only fluid-rich diamonds? Well, this is, if I knew that, this is exactly what we should answer in the next 5 years with the project that is called Madame. I like the title, sorry. I got 3.5 million euros, and I already bought it, the instrument. It will arrive in May. It will be the first electron diffractometer in the world in geoscience, in Padua. If you want to use it, you pay, no problem. No, it will be free, promised. The difference with the instrument that you have seen in the prototype is that I put another 200,000 euros. You know, I'm Italian, let's go. And I acquired a silicon drift EDS. What this means that when I do the diffraction on the grain, I can also get the chemical composition on the same grain. That's crazy. So I will study 300 fluid-rich diamonds all over the world between 1.2 billion years and 85 million years. So this is the distribution of the diamonds. And I hope that I will do this. Actually, this is what I declared. We will get back the money otherwise. So we should understand whether the fluid-rich diamonds are lithospheric or super deep diamonds. We don't know yet. Of course, when we will study more diamonds, we cannot combust all the diamonds. We are developing a new prototype to crush the diamonds and collect the nanometric inclusions. Another 20,000, this machine. It's a machine so small, you just break 20,000. Thanks. We will understand the mantle environment of the fluids. That's another very important point for us, at least for us. And finally, if these diamonds reach 300, 400 kilometer depth, the fluid was already there, arrived by subduction, meteorites, comets. We still don't know even why the water was there from the first day of the Earth's formation or arrived later. Do you know that? Nobody knows that. So we'll try to solve this small problem. Thank you.
No, it was perfect, Fabrizio. No. We do have time for a couple of questions.
They usually request the diamonds. They ask me, can you have some diamonds? This
yes.
is the question they do.
Do we have a question for Professor Nestola?
1 minute.
Or do you have diamonds that you might wish to give him away?
Somebody already sacrificed some diamonds.
One of the things that I find interesting, Professor, is the fact that once you start studying and understanding how water can be involved in the growth of diamonds, we will better understand the mechanism of the growth. And how come that might be important to geology exploration, mining exploration, in looking for alternative areas where diamond can grow?
Actually, we don't know two things. We don't know even how much time a diamond takes to grow, which is another crazy thing in the earth, you know, how much time a diamond grows. Let's see. The second point is, if we discover that diamonds can be formed in carbonatite, then we should start to search for other types of rocks, not just kimberlite. Okay?
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Well, Professor, thank you very much for your talk today. Always wonderful. It is so exciting to listen to geology that sometimes scares a lot of people, and this is such an engaging and such an exciting way of being introduced to the mechanisms that form the wonderful gemstones that all of you have been studying for many years. So we are actually on time, only 4 minutes delay, which is amazing, and this is typically Italian style. We'd never go late, as you know. And I thank you all. Before I call into the stage Professor Ilaria Adamo and Dr. Tom Stefan to deliver what everyone is expecting, the most awaited and most deserved diploma as an European gemologist. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank FEEG for having invited me to deliver these wonderful presentations that we had today. I had a private room there with a private bathroom, cookies and water, and a nice sofa so I could sleep during the presentations. It was really nice. Thank you to the Italian exhibition group for the wonderful hospitality, and it has been a special day for me, especially because as I started my brief words today, I remember when I was there, as you are, ending up or finalizing a course in education, and I totally relate to the emotion and to the importance of these days. Congratulations to the graduates. Thank you very much, FEEG, for this opportunity to be here with you today. Thank you very much. And now, thank you. I call to the stage Dr. Ilaria Adamo and Dr. Tom Stefan, Chairman of the Examination Committee of the Federation for European Education in Gemology. I made it. Thank you very much. Grazie. Grazie, carino. Prego.
Thank you, Rui. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, dear speakers, delegates, and especially graduates, it's a great pleasure for me to say a few words at the beginning of the graduation ceremony. And first of all, I would like to thank the organizers, especially you, Ilaria, for organizing such a great event, and also the fair Vicenza Oro. I think it's a great opportunity for you as graduates to visit the fair and also to listen to these awesome talks and then receive your diploma in this time. As we heard this morning from Ilaria, FEEG got 30 years this year. We heard about the history. It's 12 teaching centers from 8 different countries. And of course, over these 30 years, also the examinations have always been adapted to the current needs of the market and the market situation. And the market situation, of course, is constantly changing. So just yesterday in our General Assembly, we, for example, decided that from next year on also synthetic diamonds will be tested in the practical examination, which is most likely the most important topic at the moment. So taking the FEEG examination requires quite some dedication and passion, because you went through your national diplomas, and then you have to learn again to go through the FEEG examination. But nevertheless, on the other side, holding your FEEG diploma also tells the person on the other side that you have quite some knowledge in gemology, which I'm pretty sure your opposite person will realize that you know about what you're speaking. Nevertheless, reaching your FEEG diploma, as we heard several times today, you really started this morning. Education is the key, I noted down. Of course, it's the first step into the world of gemology, but there's many, many things you can go on with. Also, CIPIO President Dr. Gaetano Cavalieri mentioned what education is important for, to build trust, to build confidence, and also, of course, for consumer protection. And I noted down then also the talk of ICA President Damon Cody about several cases where special knowledge is required to go through, as an example of open certain topics. So to come to an end and to bring you to the stage, in 2025, no, it's 2025, 112 participants participated in the FEEG examination, of which 87 passed, which brings us to a total of 1,774 FEEG gemologists or European gemologists, which is a great number already. Today, 56 should be present, which is also a great number, to receive your diploma here. And as the head of the examination committee, I would like to take the opportunity, of course, to congratulate all of you very much for your success. And of course, not only as the head of the examination committee, but also for all member institutes of FEEG. Well done, congratulations. We will call now the delegates of the different institutes to the stage. They will call the graduates that are here. There will be an individual picture taken, right, Ilaria?
Yes, a
Yes.
picture of the
And
together.
then afterwards, we will call you all together to the stage for a group picture. I think also with the speakers. Yeah? Speakers, delegates, everybody comes to the stage then. Okay, we start with the delegate of LFG in Paris.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Ilaria. Thank you, Tom. Congratulations to all the students, to all the graduates. Thank you for the organization. It was a nice symposium with a lot of very nice talks. So I will begin with the first, Isabelle Dubai, please. The second one, Juliette Boursier. Yeah, I think that the other one are not here today, so I just call their name. Amélie Tess, Delphine Cal, Edith Chassaigne, and Salomé Dorbert. Congratulations. And just to congratulate also the teachers and all the educational centers for their organization. Congratulations.
Yes, I know.
Okay, so the next graduates are from Escola de Gemology in Spain. Since unfortunately none of their delegates could be here, Ilaria will hand over
With
the
my
diplomas.
special Spanish pronunciation. Sorry. The first one is Ulises de Melo. Diploma of Antonio. The next one is Andres Gabriel Montoya Cheverri. The next one is Maria Celia Michele Jarukebitia. Very difficult. The next one is Tatiana Trepa Modrego. Madrego. Okay, basta. Okay, stop.
The next delegate we call the delegate of the Austrian Gemological Society, Waltraud.
On behalf of the Austrian Gemological Association and the Education Center of WIFI, I have the pleasure and honor to call to the stage our students. The first one will be Martin Althuber, please. The next one, Ms. Stephanie Heidi Puster. Mr. Thomas Knauseder. Our next student, Ms. Ulrike Franziska Isuyama-Rützler. Our next student, Ms. Barbara Kressel. Sorry for the delay. And last but not least, Valentin Surin, please. Three of our students unfortunately couldn't come. I just read the names to make the group complete. It's Ms. Gerda Guggenberger, Mr. Gerd Singer, and Mr. Johannes Kranzl-Binder. Thank you.
Okay, so the next are the graduates of the German Gemological Association. And I asked Waltraud to wait a second because the first one is more like an Austrian and German patchwork. Ms. Bernadette Geusau. Then Ms. Marina Stomeo. Then Mr. Bernhard Weninger. Miss Jasmin Baumann. Miss Rosa Kopeinik. And Miss Janne Lara Lomp. So the others didn't make it, and I will follow the other delegates to just read out the names. Tom Hahn, Maximilian Helbig, Katrin Johanna Klein, Dominik Hirsel, Caroline Bauer, and Wiebke Gezöze. So the next is the Instituto Gemologico Español, please. This one.
First of all, I would like to say thank you. Thanks for the hospitality. And well, we only have one student, Mariana Vandelos. I would like to say the names of the person that couldn't come. Sara Alhambra, Manuel Fernández, Lu Andrea Godés, and Jenny Natalia Prada Ruiz. Thank you.
So next, I'd like to ask the delegate of the Gemological Association of Great Britain to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. I joined GEMA less than a year ago as Chief Executive, and this is my first experience of the FEEG community. So firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for welcoming me, and I'd like to thank the organisers for doing such an excellent job. Secondly, I'd like to thank Dr. Juliette Hibu, who is our lead tutor, and for her tutor team for preparing students to get to this point in their careers. And thirdly, and most importantly, I would like to welcome our students to the stage. I would like to congratulate them and tell them I'm absolutely delighted to see them here. So, first of all, we've got Rosie Young. Please come up, Rosie. Next, we have Philippa Elizabeth Trezelli. Next, we have Catherine, excuse my pronunciation, Iselli, I think? Catherine Iselli. And last but not least, we've got Laura DeSordo.
Next, I would like to call the delegate of SAPG in Belgium.
So first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the Istituto Gemologico Italiano for what has been a seamless, and everybody will be in line with what I say, amazing event. Thank you so much. So the first graduate from the Royal Belgian Gemological Association to come to the stage, please, Elena Valdes-Para. Our next graduate, Isabelle de Kerkhove d'Exarde. I don't think that Nora is there.
It's not here.
The next one, Marc Conon. Julie Henrion. Julien Lafosse. Rosalie Schima. Emmeline Smith. So the names of the other graduates that were not able to come to the symposium: Sophie de Roma, Jonas Van Osta, et Noura Bougatev.
Okay, Guy, you have to stay. You wanted to leave downstairs? Because Guy will also hand out diplomas of ACAM.
So we have two institutes in Belgium. We have the French-speaking people who just received their diploma. And I will now call to the stage the Dutch-speaking graduates from the Academy for Mineralogy in Antwerp. So the first one who will receive his diploma is Michel Habiton. The next one, Sandra Disseveld. Elena Patino Gutierrez.
So next, the delegate of ENG in Paris.
So first, I would like to say thank you so much to Ilaria for all organization and this beautiful ceremony. Thank you so much for our teachers and all professors of the Institut National of Gemology, and congratulations for all graduates in this ceremony. The first name I will call is Pénélope Joberti. The next one, Naya Osorio. Mathilde Vallet. Léa Pagot. Mathilde Vuatou. Paul Verger. Noémie Pic. Élodie Marc. Constance Caracagnan. Oh, so this is people who can come, so I will say the name. Constance Caracagnan, Cécilia Davy, Marie Charvier, Olane Dallègre, Marius Alzéar, Gabriel Pierra, Maya... Gabriel Pia, ok. So, les deux, both. Marie Fischer. Et Marius. Bravo. Maya Piéchot, Thomas Vignol, Coraline Gay, Lucille Pardet, Thérèse Lu. Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, Ilaria will call the graduates of IGI in Italy.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank and congratulate all the graduates. And now it's the turn of the graduates from the Italian Gemological Institute. And the first is Nadia Prokofieva. The next one is Enrico Bagatella. Nicolò Vetrucci. Marco Di Roberto. Silvia Mambrini. Giorgia Taddei. Florence Santini. Vincenzo Mongella. Simona Leordean. Elisa Coppi. And we have other graduates, but they cannot be here. I read their names: Fabiana Di Landro, Francesca Gandolfo, Andrea Filippo Marseglia, Anna Roda, Dalila Bertazzo, Carlotta Sfrappa e Maria Vittoria Villa. Congratulations.
Okay, and then we would like to call all graduates again to the stage, plus the speakers that are still here, plus the delegates for a group picture.
Sì, certo, poi mettetevi lì.